Cloud. Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to do part 3 of the same project. We're going to um, try to build an assembly from the different parts we had, and look at like how you get them into an assembly, and also look at how you mate things, and even use the gearing. Um, I don't know it's not a mate. What is it? It's a gearing. I don't know. They got a name for it, but anyway, there's some gears we can mate it. We can take mates and relate them to each other um, with that setup. So, all right, with that, actually, let me just get Zechariah. Did you have any questions or things in particular you want covered, or did you get a chance to look at any of the homework or do any of it? It's okay if you didn't. We're going from
No, I
scratch. I
haven't.
just want to find out where things at. Okay. All right. So, hang on. Let me get my make sure I'm rather than making you guys watch it. Come on, refresh. Sorry, I'm logging in. Okay. All right. So let's I have to do a share screen. Sorry, I had forgotten where I was. Share screen, share entire screen, share. All right. Cool. I'm gonna make all of you guys be small so you don't have to see that. Okay, so let's just work in Joe folder again. What was the last homework we did? Was it homework 2? Is that true? I think it is. So we can open this up. So just to make it easy, I was wondering, like, actually, I think I already had this one open and I didn't see anything. And the reason I didn't see anything is I had the wrong tab, not the wrong tab, but I had a different tab. And while it's thinking about this is not the latest thing. It could be I've got the wrong version. Let me look and see what versions things are. We don't have, so this is not the right file because we were way farther than this before. So I'm going to go and try and find the right file. I can go to recently opened, and I think this is the one that we must have worked on here. It looks like the one that is more done. Also, it's kind of confusing when it first starts up because it puts you in the assembly tab. I think that must have been I was going to start to do something. All right, so here we are. Let me just hit Shift X just to see if it has all of the right gears inside. Looks like it does. Yeah, looks pretty good. We haven't made spacers yet, but let's make the spacers later so that we can get to something. Well, actually, no, why don't we start off with something easy? So I'm going to stop sharing and we can get one of the somebody else to we're gonna make um so we should make a spacer 1, 2, 3, 4 spacers, and then I guess they're different lengths. There's a kind of a clever way of doing something. So actually, you know what? I'll do the first one, and then when we can import it as a configuration, which I think would be pretty cool. So, all right. So I'm going to just make a part. I'm gonna. So one of the problems that one of the things that we often runs into problems is we use spacers, and they really are just taking up space, but we make them hex anyway, and that isn't always uh, uh, necessary because we don't really care if it spins with it or not. We just need to hold everything in place. So even though this is a hex shaft, we're going to make a spacer that's going to have like a round and it's just going to be like a tube. So I'm going to should I do this in a different? Yeah, you know what? To make it so I'm going to go and make a new file, new part studio, and I'm just going to make I'm going to sketch on the top plane. I'm going to turn off all the planes because I'm OCD like that. I don't like seeing them. And then to make a tube, you can basically just do that. You can put, I can put dimensions on things. So, well, I don't know what dimensions to make this thing yet. So here's what I'm going to, before I put that on, let me draw the thing that we're going to go around. So I'm going to use yes, I'm going to use the inscribed polygon, and I'm going to draw it here. It's 6 sides. I can hit enter, and now I can put this is going to be 0.5, so it's a 1/2 inch thing. And then I want to put a space. I want this tube to be a little bit big between here and here. I want there to be a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to say that gap is going to be, I don't know, let's make it 20 thousandths, 0.02. So that's a 1/2 millimeter. So we've got a 1/2 millimeter space. I'm looking at that. That feels bigger. It might be rattling around more than I wanted it to. So I'm going to make it 0.01. So now it's 0.02 total, but it can fit over there pretty easily. And then we'll just make this outside wall something that makes sense. Try 1. Does 1 look okay? Maybe. Looks a little bit thick. Why don't we, instead of, sorry, I'm editing the wrong one. That one. I'm going to make it 0.75. That looks like an okay spacer, but it isn't, I don't know, 0.875. Yeah, that feels like a good one. Now, I'm going to click OK on that. And now when I do my extrude, I can, well, first of all, I extrude that sketch, and I can do it blind. And instead of here, normally I could put in a variable. See, I could put in a new variable, but there's a way that I can make it a configuration. Actually, can I make it a configuration? Brad, you're gonna have to help me here. I thought there was a way that I could make it be like a something that we could enter when we I thought.
Do you have to?
Oh, there it is.
There you
There.
go.
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
in here.
Okay.
It's in there. Yeah, yeah. I knew. I didn't see where the thing. So we're gonna call this the configuration name is gonna be spacer len, and we'll just make it 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. We'll fill in numbers later. But yeah, the value. Okay, so now it is there's this thing called configurations that are, so when you bring something in, so now I'm going to bring something into an assembly. This is kind of a silly assembly because I wouldn't put it in at this point, but I just want to show you what it is we're going to be doing. And let me actually rename this one to be renamed. We're going to just call it spacers, because who's ever doing the next one will do the second. We'll do a configuration for that. So now if I import this part, insert, and I'm going to insert part 1, which I should rename. But here, and now it's asking me, I think, I can ask it like, hey, would you like to configure this thing? So somewhere in here it says, is it properties, change version? No. Under properties? I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm trying to remember how it is that you tell it which configuration you want. Switch to spacers, copy part, oops, change to version.
Thought it was over in the right-hand menu.
In the right-hand menu. So over here?
Was it one of these configurations?
Yeah, well, this is configuration panel, yes, but this is making a configuration of. I want to So I can go over here and I can have configuration, custom
Got it.
tables, configuration cell. So,
Got it.
but I've made this part a configurable part. Hang on, let me rename it to just be hex. We'll call it half inch hex spacer. But if I wanted to, it made it a new variable. Oh, wait, I didn't do it right. I made this, sorry. I can edit this variable. Did I not make it a configuration? I thought I did. I'm trying to teach something and I'm learning it as I'm going. So there's a way of, if I edit this. No, I didn't want it to be, I wanted it to be, if I made that a new variable, I made that equal to that variable, but I thought it was, did I not click the right? Okay. I'll use a new variable, $, a new variable, configuration. I didn't hit the configuration name. All right, so space. Sorry. Delete this because we're not going to use that. Edit this. Go here. Put in $, new variable. Make it a configuration. Go over here. What's the name? The name is spacer len. And the default value should be 1. And the maximum is going to be, or the minimum is going to be 0, and the maximum, nobody should make a spacer longer than 4 inches, say. It's a length, and everything is good. Click OK. All right, now, this is our half-inch hex spacer. And now when we go over here, back into this guy, we are now, get rid of that. We can configure this, because now it is a thing that is, we can change the configuration, and we can say, oh, this should actually be 0.5 inches. And it just magically will fill in that number. So we don't have to model 15 of these things to do if we had 15 different spacer lengths. We can just insert into this assembly every time one of these guys and just change the configuration every time. So that was a very muddled version of what I wanted to do. But what I'd like somebody else to do now is to go into this spacers version, this spacers thing, and to make a new spacer that will take up, we'll use it in 2 places. We'll use it to take up, yeah, we do need one on the top, and we'll need one, on the bottom. And so you'll have to kind of figure out, like, what should your ID and OD be in order to make this kind of work. Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much, but anyway, you'll want to, what is this guy? What is that part? I don't remember that part. Why is that there? Is that the motor? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that part that we put in there? Is that the bearing? Isolate. Oh, okay. It's a hex bearing. Why are we? Oh, you know what? That was the hex bearing that was the originally OG hex bearing. Get out of there. We don't want you. That was just I for some reason I decided we weren't going to delete that bearing before, and so it was just confusing us. So we want a spacer that will pick up, so it'll hit on this little guy here, and it will fill like something that will keep this held up but won't interfere. So we kind of want to make an ID that's like, something that will slip onto that guy. We want the OD to be something that will like not interfere with that guy. So it's going to be, so an ID to OD, it'll kind of fill this space. Okay. And so all you should do is you'll go into spacers, you'll make a new spacer that'll be called Falcon spacer. And it'll look very similar, but it'll be different dimensions. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to be quiet until somebody says, I'll do it.
I can try.
Okay, let's do it. Great. So share your screen so that I can have the magic red pen that I can write on. All right. All right, very good. So you should have, so now you have a, you need to kind of gather some dimensions. So I would do Control Shift X and no, what happened? You can do it again. No,
Wait
no,
a second.
no computers is Shift X, oh, Control X, maybe stop sharing? I don't think so. I use Shift X all the time. So Control X maybe, but I don't know. Maybe Windows X? I don't know.
Wait, it closed my entire tab. Like the entire.
Can you open it again?
Oh.
While he's doing that, Carolyn, you want to get him started? You want to start it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we should just make another part. Oh, well, we need to get some dimensions. So we'll kind of, yep. So you can either just hit anything round, and it almost certainly is going to do the right thing. Anything round. Yep, there. Or there. Or there. Click on it. Yeah. Because it usually does a very good job of picking like a round thing, says, oh, I think that's a cylinder. I'd like you to use that to do that. So, okay. So now we need to kind of get some dimensions of things. So we need to kind of figure out like what dimension is that little shaft, that little step in the shaft that I was pointing to before. Yep.
So how would I find the dimension of it?
Okay, so you should, I have to, hang on a minute, I have to get my red pen. Okay, so you should zoom in on that so we can see it really well. All right, now that's good enough. That's good enough. That's good right there. Just stop right there. I clear my thing. Okay, the second you touch this line and click on that line, down here will be a number. So that's the radius. Okay, here, it's probably a whole number in millimeters. So click on that number, on that little ruler or whatever that is. There's like a, yeah, right there. And then put millimeters instead. Huh, it isn't anything normal. It isn't in normal. It's not normal in any dimension. So it's fine. So what did it say? 0.177 radius or 147 radius? Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, 147 radius. So that's good. And then now we want to look up at the other thing. I'm going to leave this here. I'll put a box on it. So we'll use that later. And now we want to have it so that it doesn't interfere with the root diameter of the gear. The root diameter, if you have a gear teeth here, I'm kind of trying to show the root diameter is that diameter, the diameter of the circle that's at the bottom of the valley of between two teeth. So you want to do the same thing, only this time you want to do it with the trying to looking at one of those things. So zoom in so we can see it better. Zoom in a little bit better. And why is it selecting the whole surface? Not good. So for some reason, the way they've modeled this whole feature as a one thing. So as one curve, and it isn't. This isn't a cylinder, isn't a radius. So that's our problem. I need to. Everyone remember 147. I'm going to clear all. I'll rewrite it up here. 147. So we're going to do a new trick. Okay, we're going to do. You can always zoom out a little bit so we can see more of it. And so lines have like a center line. If you can, this circle, this arc has kind of a center line. So if you zoom in on it and you zoom in right there and touch it, you'll be able to grab the center of that line. So, yep, can you see it was highlighting just that center? And if you click on that, if you click on it when it's only highlighting, pre-highlighting that, no, you've highlighted it for the whole circle. I was going to say highlight it for just when it just highlights. Okay, that's another thing is selecting is sticky. So you have to either hit the escape button or you've got to, so see when it, now it's highlighting all the orange. Now move it so it's to the center. There, click right there, click. Okay, so you've got just that, you've selected only one thing because you can see it only says one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've selected just that one. Now we have a number of options. We could, well, the problem is we're in the other part. We need zoom out a little bit now. Zoom out a little bit. The part we are trying to get to is over here. It's in the a space we can't really see. But you know what? If instead of highlighting a point, we highlight a cylinder, like here's a cylinder way up here. Click on that cylinder up there. There, click. Okay. Now it's going to go, now it's doing minimum distance. Do you see this guy says minimum distance? Well, that's no good. So click on this guy again. And now it tells you distance to the center line. Do you see? There's lots of different things it's doing, max distance, min distance, but it's just, so if we figure out the total distance, this number, right? Distance to center axis. So that's, what number was that?
0.242.
0.242. So we have to multiply both of these numbers by 2, but we have the numbers that we need now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's actually turn off. How are you doing, Zachariah? Are you back in business? Okay, let's assume not. When you get back in business, you're muted right now, Zachariah, if you're trying to talk. Okay, so these are the two numbers we need to remember, and I can't really, unless I get out my eraser, I can't really erase some things. What I'd like you to do is let's turn off the section view and see if you can highlight. So now if you can find, you ought to be able to find over here in the model tree, that part. See if you can find that part. It will kind of, you can see how it's highlighting through that. Go ahead. Up, there. Wait, you go back, up. One more. There. Click right there. Right click on. No, you're not there. Now. See, it's looking right. Shoot, I can't hit the clear button. I'm gonna hit the clear button. We just got to remember the numbers. 242. And 147. Okay, so you keep going, go down to the next one. Go up, nope, that isn't it. Go up, is it up or down we have to go? Somewhere here you're gonna find, and you'll see the shadow of your gear, like the outline of that gear that we want to measure. Keep going, there, right there. Okay, right click on that guy and hit isolate. Boom. Okay, so now everything else is sort of grayed out, but now you have access to this whole thing and you'll be able to do the measurement. So now zoom in, so we can like zoom in on this guy and see if you can select the point a point here and a point there and see if it's equal to one. It should be equal to 4, 8, 4. Yep, that's one. And then click on another one way up here. What by my 7? By my 7. Up higher, up higher. Okay, get the center of that line. The center of that line. Nope, 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 nope. You want to pick right there. There. Click that. Boom. Okay, so now you've picked two things that are the opposite sides of each other. And you don't need to do the center distance on this one because points are perfect, right? It's doing, well, it turns out it's 4, 8, 3. That's pretty close to the 4, 8, 2. I mean, basically there must be some rounding error, right? That, this is twice that. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, I'm just telling you that's a number of ways we could do this. We could get this same information, right? But anyway, it was just a check to see that we did it right. And it looks like we've done it right. So let's, we know these numbers. And so now let's go into the spacer and make our spacer. Okay, so let's get rid of this spacer because it's in the way and we don't really want to see it. So we don't want to delete it, you just want to hide it. Yep, okay. And then let's just make a new sketch. I would do it on the top plane so that all of our spacers are kind of on that same old plane, right? And then make 2 circles and then dimension them. Okay. Now it looks to my eye like you're not quite on the center of the 2 of those. Okay, that's fine. Oh, maybe they are centered. They are concentric. I'm not sure. It didn't look like they were concentric, but maybe they are. Okay, so I would just to be sure, I would hit the concentric button here, and I would just make sure they're concentric. Yep. Okay, good. All right, perfect. So now you just want to have, we want to have a dimension where this one will slip over a 147 times 2. So flipping over, you need like 2 or 3 thousandths, something like that. So to be easy, I think I would just take like 0.15, multiply that by 2, and then, so that's 0.3. So just make it 0.3.
Point 3.
0.3, yep. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put in 0.147 plus some gap times 2. But yeah, this works just fine. And then what did we want for the outside dimension? We want to have to be something a little bit less than this number. So I don't know, 0.475, 0.47.
Wait,
I don't know.
for this one, is it 0.3 plus this?
No. So it's if you look at the gear that we had, not the gear, but there was like, we had like a little teeny kind of a gear, and it was from the center distance. It was the radius. So we're dimensioning the diameter. So you had to take 0.47, but plus a little bit. And I just added 0.003, and I get 0.15. And then I multiplied that by 2 because we need to know what the diameter is, not the radius.
Oh,
So
I get it.
that's how I got to the 0.3.
Okay.
But this guy here, we need to be less than that. So how much less? It doesn't really matter that much. We could make it exactly this, but why make it so close? I would probably put it like 0.47 or so. That seems about right. Nothing particularly magic about it, right? And then now, phew, I can finally clear this mess up. All right, and now we can extrude it. But when we do, right, we extrude the sketch here. And then we want to fill in here, hit a pound sign. And then as soon as you hit the pound sign, to ask you like, hey, do you want a variable? Right, say new variable, because we want it to be a new variable. And then we don't want it to be a new variable. We want it to be a configuration. We want to click on that guy there. Yes. Click on that. And now the new name will be Falcon length, Falcon spacer length. Okay. And then it asks for a default, a max and a min. I mean, as far as the max, let's make the max 2 inches, because if you're doing it more than 2 inches, you're doing it wrong. And the min, make the min, I don't know, 0.02 or something. It probably, you should never make a spacer be so short. Yeah. A 0.5 millimeter feels like about right. And then click OK. I guess it doesn't like spacers in our name. So get rid of the spaces. Okay. Yeah, that was it. Okay, then click OK. All right, perfect. So we have now made a click OK. And now we've made let's rename this thing Falcon Spacer. Cool. And you can go to the assembly and let's import it. So it doesn't really matter. We just to do import it, all you have to do is just insert, not import it, you insert it. Sorry, insert. And what are you going to pick? We're going to pick under, you down arrow the spacers here. And then you're going to pick Falcon Spacer, right? Good. And click OK. And drop it someplace. Yep. And click OK. And now if you configure this, now this is the bad thing of what I've done here, because now look, go ahead and right click on Falcon Spacer and change configuration. And can you see for every spacer, it's going to give us 2 options now, but even though I only really care about one of them, right? So I'm gonna let's change this. We're gonna fix this, but I'm gonna have Zechariah fix this. Assuming, are you back with us, Zechariah? No, we can't hear you if you're trying to speak to us. Okay, so let's fix this. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're going to click OK and get out of this. Let's take this guy here, the spacer, right click on it and change it, rename one of them to be called Falcon Spacer.
This part?
Yep, call it Falcon Spacer. And then hit OK. And then the other one, make it, so not the other one, there isn't another one yet. Right click on this and then duplicate it. Copy, I think it's called. All right, and now change that one to be hex spacer. Perfect. All right, and now in the hex spacer one, delete the Falcon bit, and so you're in the hex spacer. So now you want to delete it from the model tree. You want to delete it over here. The features that cause those, you want to get rid of them. Yep. Delete and delete. Perfect. All right, and then let's show it, because then we can see that the other one is still there. Good. And then go to the other one and delete the Falcon spacer. Is that no, sorry. Delete the hex spacer. So the first 2 features. Yep. Perfect. All right. So now we should be prepared for something to be broken in the assembly, because we've just deleted a thing that was in there. So let's go to the assembly and look, and you'll see it'll be like, hey, I don't know what you're trying to do here. What are you trying to do? You're pulling. So right click on this guy. I think we can fix this pretty easily. I think you can say replace instance. Yep. And then just go and find the object that you want to replace it with. So select, so click down into the next one. Yep. and then just pick from the model tree which one you want. Yep, that's right. Click OK. So somehow we still have two configurations, which I don't like. That didn't fix it. Why didn't it fix it? There we go. Yes. Okay, good. Hang on. Let's go to configurations. Go to Hexspacer here. And let's see if we can get rid of the configuration. Go to that tab. Click on that tab. Here is the configuration tab over here. See if we can get rid of the configurations. Yes. Okay. So this one here, you can right click, go to these dots over here and delete. And then do the same thing for the other side. For the other one, only delete the opposite one. Do you guys understand what was bothering me was that even though we didn't have a part that changed those things, we had configurations that were there. Okay, so now go back into the assembly and you will see that now if you try to configure that, if you right click on one of those things and configure them, yep, you only see the one that's relevant for this. So let's make it a 1/2 inch tall. Okay, perfect. And make the other one, I don't know, make it 0.3 inches, 0.03 inches tall. Yeah. Okay. So that's how we can do configurations. It's a really powerful thing. So if you have a bunch of spacers that are all different lengths, if you have like aluminum extrusions that are, they're all the same except for their length, you can do this. You can use this configuration tool to be able to have them, to model them once. All right. So we are getting close. I'm going to check in with Zachariah again. Are you still there? First. You're there. I think.
I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. Did you get your
My
CAD
microphone
back?
was just unplugged, that's why.
I see. Have you gotten your CAD back?
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, cool. So let's so thank you, Carolyn. Why don't you stop driving? And so I think the next thing we should do is we are going to pull in the parts that we want into the assembly, and then we're going to kind of like group them together and do things to kind of build up the assembly in a way that makes sense. How much time do we have left? About 45 minutes. Yeah, we've got enough time. So that's cool. All right. So should I do it first, or should I yes, I'll do it first, and then we can so I'm going to share my screen. All right. So first of all, I'm looking at this part. These parts are not tied to anything. They're just floating in space. Notice just because I brought them in, and they're not there, you can just drag them wherever you want to, and there's no real there's nothing constraining them at all, because we don't have any mate features. There's a whole list of features that there'll be mate features, but none of them are here yet. So how do we do things? So what I'm going to go back to the gearbox and all of the fixed things, right? So what's fixed on this? The upper housing, the lower housing, these motor bits, all except for the motor shaft, are all fixed. You could say that the bearings are fixed also, but in this case, I'm going to not have them fixed. I'm going to have them rotate with the bearing or with the shaft, because they're hexed and these are hexed, and we can it just makes a better animation. There's no real reason to actually make them so that they would spin with the bearing, but the bearings would spin with the shaft, but that's how we're going to do it. So all I'm going to do is just grab all of the the 4 parts, this part, this one, that one. And I'm not going to grab the, I'm not going to, well, actually, the easiest thing is just to import. No, I don't want to import all of it. I'm going to just import the ones that I said. So, all right, so I'm going to go into the assembly and I'm going to insert. And what parts am I going to insert? Well, I said I don't want to do any of those bearings, but I do want to do the lower one, the upper one, and I want to do the motor, but I don't see it. How come the motor is not in the... Oh, there it is. Yes, it is. It just doesn't look like a motor. So I need to have the top of the motor, the housing of the motor, and the kind of the back end of the motor. So I'm going to grab all of those. And now if I were to drag this around, it's just going to drag the individual parts. Well, nobody wants that. So I'm going to Control Z. That's not what I wanted. I'm going to grab all of these parts, not the here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. And I'm going to use this icon right up here. I'm going to use the group function. And now these, for the rest of this assembly, these guys will always be grouped together. You can't move one without moving the other. So, and then I guess let's have the output shaft kind of be centered on this guy. So now, how do we keep it so that things can't be dragged around and can't be spun? And we use these things called mates. There are different kinds of mates. There are mates that are like fastened, which means like just hold it down and connect these two things and they're like glued together. There's a revolute, which is sort of like, we use this one a lot. It spins, like if you need to have something spin, but it can't move along its axis, that's this one. This one, slider mate, can just slide. This one can move 2 planes. The most common ones we use are fixed, are the fasten, revolute, and sometimes we use cylindrical mate. Occasionally we use like parallel and some others, but the most common ones are this one, fasten, revolute, and cylindrical. Occasionally, if I'm going to do some sort of a slide, I use this, but anyway, so these are the most popular ones. So how do you use them? Well, we get in the mode of using them, and then it's saying, well, what is it you want to mate? What is the part you want to mate? Or what mate, actually, when you're mating, you're not mating parts, you're mating mate connectors. So I'm using the fasten, and I'm going to mate that mate connector. If you notice, I'm picking the edge, right? And it says, it kind of like highlights different things. I could actually, I could use this anything round, anything, if it's flat, it does the center of that thing. If it had, and it does kind of the right thing. If you notice, if I pick a cylinder, it picks like the middle of a cylinder, right? If I pick this cylinder, if I pick the outer edge, it's like the middle of it, right? If I pick the bottom edge, see how this is doing. And I have to kind of pay attention to what direction the Z axis is kind of special. So, so when I do this, I'm going to pick this edge, and notice I'm going to zoom in. And when I pick the edge, I want to make sure that I'm getting not that has the Z oriented in the direction that I want it to be oriented. So I'm going to click that guy. And then it's like, well, what else do you want to mate with? What's the second one? Well, I want you to mate it with that one. And now it's like, is that what you meant? It's giving you kind of a chance to like bail, like to hit X, like, hell no, that's not what I wanted. And sometimes it only moves like part of an assembly. So sometimes you have to hit the solve button to kind of have it move all of it. But today, this particular instance, it moved all of them. So oftentimes you can do these things like where you want to, I really want to rotate it around. And what is it rotating around? Why, it's rotating around the Z axis. And then it flips. When it do flip, what it flips is the Z axis, right? So this is kind of what I wanted. So I'm going to click. Okay, now there's a chance you can do offset. So if you wanted to have it in the Z direction, I want it to be up 2 inches or 4 inches or something. It always does the opposite of what I imagine it to do. So I almost always have to like hit you know, so anyway, that's kind of, you can, you know, you can put an offset in. You can also do a rotation about a certain things. That offset is pretty powerful, but I'm not going to do any offset for today. We're just gonna leave that in, and we have, and now if you notice down in this mates, there are two of them. One is called group one. That's the one that's sticking all of those parts together. And the second one is like the one that froze. Can you see how it kind of highlights there? All right. So now what I would like to do is to stop, and we can now have Zachariah do this. And what I'd like you to do is to bring in the parts I'm going to show you to bring in would be like everything on this shaft. So this bearing, this shaft, that gear, and that bearing. So if you bring all of those in, and then we can mate those while we watch. So that's what I'd like you to do. Yeah, that's how we'll do this one. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, and Zachariah, you can take over if you want to. I think you're muted.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
All right, so let's grab that intermediate shaft. We're just going to grab all of those parts. So we want to go first of all to the assembly. And we're just going to bring them in, and after we get them all as a group, you can then mate them with a different kind of a mate. So, all right. So what do we have to do? We go up to the insert button, which I need to get my pen. Yep. And what do we want to insert? So you hit this button here to be able to see all of the parts that are in there. And now the problem is going to be, you know what? Let's not put the bearings in. Let's use MKCAD to bring the bearings in. So you want to bring the shafts, but not the bearings. The shafts and gear. So you want to bring in shaft 2. Yes. Click that one. You want to bring in gear 2, and we didn't name them properly, did we? What are we calling? What were the gears named? We want the 42 one. I think it's this one. You know what? Let's stop because we don't know. Let's go and look. Okay, so get out of this. Don't do anything. X out of this. Go and look at. Let's look at in the gearbox assembly, and let's look for names. So you can hit Shift X if you want to, and then click on that someplace. Yep, click there. Okay, good. Now we can see. All right, what parts do we want? Right. So you can just click OK. So we're no longer in that mode. Yep. Okay. And then we just need to find out what the names of these gears are. You can hit Y. You can just hit Y if you want to. Yep. And then just click on them, and you'll see the names will come up over here on the model tree. So if you just click right there, click. Okay, that one is called, well, that's a crazy name, but it's the one that ends in, it's 2708. All right, so we want the 2708 one. And what's this one called?
The big gear.
You know what? Why don't we name them what we really think they are, right? So right click on that guy and rename him. Oh, we can't rename it because that one we brought in as a MKCAD. Okay, so it's fine. So we want the 2708. I'm going to write 2708 over here. That's one that we need to bring in. And we also need to bring in, so click on this blue guy up here, this cyan colored guy. Oh, first of all, you got to click in space. So you can get rid of clicking it, click nothing. Yes, good. And now just click on that guy. Right there. Yep, click anything. All right, what number? That guy is the 22. Okay. So that's good. So we want the 20T guy. So 2708 and 20T and shaft 2. And that's all we're going to bring in. So now we can go back to the assembly. Good. Okay. And we're going to insert. Now we're going to insert a we're going to make our own thing. So we're going to go to highlight that guy. Yep. And then pick shaft 2. The blue gear and the cyan gear. That one, yes, 2708, good. And then the cyan one was farther down, I believe. It was way at the bottom. Yep, there we go, 22. Okay, and then just click OK. All right, now where did they go? Let's hide, keep hitting the Y button and you'll hide things. Okay, hide everything because we're going to kind of make this assembly as ourselves. Hide. Okay, good. Hide those other things too so that they're just not in our way. Y, just hit the Y button. Yep. Okay, so now we can take and let's select all of these things, which you can select them in enough. Yep, that's good. And then you could group them.
How do I group them?
There's an icon up here. Good. So now they're all grouped, but what we don't have that we wanted to have. So let's go to MKCAD. Oh, you don't have MKCAD. All right. So we need to install MKCAD. Man, I haven't done this in a while. Silver, can you help me out?
I absolutely can. Let's see. So you're gonna want to go to the App Store, which you may have to open a separate tab for. Let me double check that.
Can I download it
Okay,
from my
so-
phone?
No, you
No.
cannot, sadly. So do you see those 3 blocks and the plus sign next to the share button?
Mm.
Nope, next to it.
Oh,
Yep.
this.
Yeah. And then you can search MKCAD. MK.
Oh,
There you go.
Okay, so install that
And
guy.
It's free and subscribe, and that should be all you need.
I think you have to I think you'll have to, I believe you're gonna have to
You may have to refresh. I'm not
you
certain.
may have to refresh. Yeah, I can remember there was some goofy thing about it where last time people were confused. Okay, so I think that's it. How do you get out of this then?
You can just go back to the previous window just by clicking like the back button in the corner of the browser, top of the left, or you can go to the My Documents, whichever works.
Okay, so now you've got this beautiful little MKCAD thing over here on the right, far right. Down, 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 down there. Click MKCAD. And we want to put in hex bearing. Oh, wait, it's not
do I
yes, authorize. Yes, please do. Okay, so now you want to put in hex bearing. Does anyone is bearings? And click on that. There's a 1/2 inch round someplace. 1/2 inch hex, sorry. This guy.
0.5 hex ID. Yep.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So actually put a second one in because now we might as well do that. Okay, so now you have 2 of them in there. You can see that you put 2 of them in there because they're over here, you see, on the model tree. So now what we want to do is we want to fasten these guys. But so here is the little bit of a problem is our shaft, this dimension doesn't exactly match that dimension. There's a little bit of a offset from the 2. So what I would suggest that we do is we there's nothing round on this whole thing yet. Yeah, there is. I guess the gear is something round. Well, actually, you know what? I think this is a thing we should probably just do. Can you go in? Let's go back into the part studio, and we're gonna put a hole through this guy just to make our lives easier. Okay. And also there are some hex shafts that start with holes like that. So let's go back over to the not the Falcon shaft, Falcon Gearbox. Yeah. Go to Falcon Gearbox, the tab. Yep. And then we can do this. If we find out where we made this guy. So if you just click on that surface right there, it'll highlight in the tree where we made that. We extruded it right here, right? So let's actually edit this sketch right here, edit the sketch one above that, right? Click on that guy and edit it. And let's just put like a 16th hole. Where is the sketch? Hang on a second. Maybe that wasn't the sketch that made it. Highlight that again. It made, yeah, it's sketch 12. Edit sketch, right click, edit sketch 12. Right click, edit. It's just there, but we can hide all the parts because we don't really need to see them. Right click on any part down on the model tree or on the thing, right click on any part, right click, and then hey, hide all parts. There's the sketch that we need. Okay, so now draw a little circle on that same circle and just make it like an 1/8 of an inch. So draw a circle. Yep. That's fine. Drop it and then dimension it to be like 0.1. Yeah, 0.1 is fine. We're only putting it in there because we want the 0.1. Sure, that's fine. Okay, so now if we hit exit the sketch, and now everything will be fine. All right, now we've got the hole in that place and the next person will put a hole in there when they're going to do this thing. So now go back to the full assembly. And now, now we can mate, we can fasten, right? So let's fasten one of the bearings to this thing. So in order to fasten, I have to get my pen back open. So we want to use this fasten mate. Yep, fasten. And then we need to choose the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the bearing. Yep, click there. And we want to pick that edge right there.
Right here?
Yep. Okay, so now something went wacky. Okay, can we okay, if you look at this guy, looks like we got the wrong edge. So hit an X. There's a little X right on. Okay, you can do it over again. That's fine. Yes. So you need to make sure you're selecting when you're doing the fasten, you need to pay attention to what you're selecting. You selected the surface, not the edge. You see, you selected the cylinder, not the edge. Do you understand what I mean?
Oh.
So you have to pay attention to the pre-select. So, nope, you did it again. You did it again. Can you see what you've selected? You get us an edge so we can see what we're looking at. Like flip it over, flip the whole thing over. Okay, so now you can see the edge, right? And click on the edge when you do it.
Right,
Click.
like right here.
And when you see the edge, right, and you can see exactly where this thing is being selected, right? So it likes that one, and now it's asking for what's the next one, right? And as long as we're here, we might as well do this one. So select that edge then. Yep, click there. Okay, and it did exactly what we wanted, so click OK. All right, now let's do it again for the second bearing. All right, we're still in that mode. We're still in the fasten mode. Okay, and you can pick this edge. Nope, you want to pick the same edge, the bottom edge of the bearing. Flip it over, flip the bearing over. Yep, pick the edge. Yep. Okay, and then pick, yep, there, good. All right, and now you gotta flip that guy because it's not in the right spot,
How do I flip it?
right here. Okay, that's good. Now, sometimes you got lucky in that your bearing lined up perfectly for you, but if it didn't, you can turn it by using this guy next to it. So try it a couple of times, just flip it a couple of times, you'll see what I mean. So get us so we can see, get us a view from here. Okay, can see what's happening when you're flipping? Okay, it's kind of going in and out of phase for you, all right? So anyway, so now that's good, that's perfect. So now, what I'd like you to do is we have a shaft, we're not quite done yet. So click OK, or X, because we're done with that, we're done mating. But there was a spacer, we want to fit, can you give me a side view or something so I can see the shaft? We want to fill this thing with a spacer, and we want to fill this thing with a spacer. So let's find out how big our spacers need to be by just touching this surface and then touching that surface and seeing how big our spacer should be. How long our spacer should be. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Mm.
So we're gonna here actually unblank this guy up here. Make it so we can see that guy again. Okay, so we want to put that in the right spot, but it's not the right length. Do you understand? We want to put that and take up that space so that the gears stay exactly where we want them to be. Do you see?
So like
This, so the problem is we need to know how big is this gap, and how the way we find out how big the gap is we highlight that edge, and we highlight that face, and then it'll tell us down in the lower left how far it is. So try and get the surfaces. Planes are so much better to be able to measure from. So try and, yeah, right there, click from there, and then measure right here. Oh. So it says parallel distance, the 0.35. Okay. Do you see that down here? 0.325. Yes?
Yep, I
Do you
see it.
understand? Okay, so now we should right click on this guy and hit configure. Change configuration, is that right? Oh, sorry. We've selected too many things. Click in, hit escape, and then do it again. Hit escape and then right click, configure. Change configuration. Good. Okay, and now enter. So we don't want it to be too tight. It was 0.325. So I don't know, half a millimeter feels like a good number of moving. So that let's just get rid of that too. So make it 0.305. Seems good. Okay, good. Click OK. And now we want to use a fasten, and we want to fasten this circle to the bearing. There's a part in that we can, we could use this edge, right? Somehow we want to fasten this thing to this thing. That one's good, fine. Click there, and then click there. Perfect. Yep. Okay, now hit solve, because this is a case where, is that what we wanted? Look at it, spin it around. Does it look like it's got a nice gap? Yeah, it looks like it's got a good gap. Everything looks beautiful. Let's do that. Click OK. Good. All right, and now do the same thing on the next one, the left side. What do we do first? Yep, first we have to find out how far things are apart. Nope, you just highlight them and you'll see, nope, that's not the surface we want.
Which surface?
You got to zoom in. You got to zoom in to get do a section. Hit a section. Shift X. Section is your friend in this case. And then just click on this guy right here. Click on this guy right here. There. Okay, perfect. Click OK. And now you can see the two surfaces we're trying to measure. Do you understand?
What surfaces?
This surface and that surface.
Oh, this one.
Yep.
And this surface?
Yep. That too. Those two. Yep. So those are 0.74, right? So this side, we could put another gap in there, but we already put a gap for the other side. So why don't we just leave this one at 0.074? So let's make, we want to put in a new one. We want to insert a new one. And we want to insert a hex spacer. Click OK. Good. All right. And now we have to configure that hex spacer. Right click on the configure. Good. 074. Good. Click OK. All right. And then put it into place. Don't use the surface if you can help it. Use the edges. Get rid of that one. You've chosen the surface, and it's just not as good as choosing the edge in these cases.
So, right.
So you want to choose the two edges. You want to choose like, yeah, you just want to choose the two circular edges, like that edge, not the surface. Choose the edge. Yeah. Do you see the difference? Do you see when you the difference between selecting the edge and selecting the surface? Do you understand what I mean when I say that?
So like the outline of the shape?
Yeah. So when you highlight, there's like a pre-selection color that happens, and just before you want the pre-selection to show you that it's selecting the edge, not the face. Because if it's doing the face, it'll show you all the surfaces. So then now you want to check, and you could pick this one up here. Yep, that looks good. So do that. Now, did it go into the right spot?
It looks like
right.
it.
Looks right. Okay, so click OK. Good. All right, so now we're almost done. All right. Now we want to take this whole grab of things and we want to put it into the housing in the right spot. Okay. So how can we do that? Well, first of all, we have to turn on one of the housings. We have to tell it like, hey, I really would like to see that housing. So why don't we turn the housing on? Okay. And now what you'd like to do, so zoom out so we can see what we're looking at. Zoom out. Okay. And so now this one, where does this one go? It goes in this face here. So now we should choose the revolute mate. The revolute mate. And there's a number of, you could choose this edge and this edge. You could choose, choose those two edges. Those are the ones you want to use because that's how we built the assembly, if you remember. We built it so that those two are together. Hit solve. Did that work? Nope. So we've got something wrong. We've chosen two things on the, anyway, look over here. You can see that we need to delete one of those. And then pick this edge here. Yep. So somehow we've got the wrong, anyway, we've got the wrong one in the housing. So get rid of that guy. And then now pick, let's start over. So we want to put, oh, actually, I was even doing the wrong one. So drag your whole assembly out of the way. It's in the wrong place because the surface we really need is down here in the middle of the part. So drag this guy someplace, drag that whole assembly out in space someplace. Just grab him and, nope, grab grab this and move it. You can't do that?
Like,
Just click on it and drag it. Click and drag. How come it's moving the assembly too? It shouldn't be able to move the assembly. You shouldn't be able to move this assembly because it's fastened. Can you highlight this right here for a minute? Is it, yeah, it's there. It's fastened. Why are we able, does anybody know what's going on? How come he's moving the assembly and he shouldn't be able to?
Check if fastened one, or make sure it's visible.
Yeah, can you turn on all fasten, like make sure we can see them.
You can type, I believe, K or J, one of those two, to show all mates.
So right now all the mates are hidden, so we can't see them. So can you right
It
click
looks
and
like
turn
the
them all
stream
on?
is frozen. Oh, never mind.
Right click, right click, right click,
uh,
and then say show all.
Oh, I see it. Right
they're
click
all
in open
on.
space.
They are all on. Yeah. But wait a minute. Hey man, let me
Hover
clear
over
my.
fastened one. Okay, yeah, no, that's on the origin. Double click.
Yeah, it's fine. Why is he
So
able to move the parts then?
what's being moved around? Can I see?
He's moving everything when he drags the part.
When you say everything, do you wait?
Well,
Click the X
like
on fasten one.
if he tries to grab this assembly, he should be able to move it out of the space because it's not connected to anything. But
Oh,
it's moving everything.
He's not moving the assembly. He's moving he's panning across the screen.
Ah, so what is it you drag with then? Because I've got my mouse is different.
Oh, like this?
No, that's just moving where you're anchored. Try moving one of the arrows, or just click on the bearing and drag. Left click. Try left click drag. That shouldn't be doing. Oh,
Oh, now
okay.
it's
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Just drag it over. That's fine. Then drop it.
That's
Drop
what we
it.
want.
But
Wait, what?
why didn't those bearings? Because the group. Hang on. What's happening with group? Is group suppressed?
The group is the two housing parts, I thought. Let me hop into
Oh.
the part.
We never grouped them. Somehow we've lost our last group. We were supposed to have all three of all those should have been grouped, but they weren't.
Let me hop in.
Okay. So it's fine. It's fine. So Zechariah, can you just take these two gears and make them to the two spacers? Do you know what I'm saying? So fasten them to the spacers.
which gives
The two gears that are not where they belong.
the blue ones.
Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. These two gears. Do you
The
see
blue
there are
one?
two gears there? Yeah, the two blue gear, the blue and the cyan gears are not in the right spots. So you can, well, you're fastening them to each other. You want to fasten them back to that shaft. Actually, you know what we should do? You should just hit Control Z as many times as you can until your shaft goes back to the middle of that part. And then we can group them, and then you don't have to, and then we don't have to do this.
Wait,
So
Control
just
Z?
hit Control Z. Just hitting Control Z over and over and over again. Is that working?
It's just
What
zooming out.
what kind of computer do you have?
Oh, Windows 10.
Control Z isn't okay. We can mate them, I guess. It's not that
You're
that
just
hard.
pressing Z. You have to make sure you're pressing Control as well.
Yeah,
CTRL bottom
I'm
left.
pressing Z.
You need
Control Z.
Yeah,
Control
I'm
Z.
pressing,
plus Z.
I'm pressing Control and Z as well. I'm pressing them both.
Oh, you have to click out of the fasten date or 6.
Oh,
That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay, now hit Control Z. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah,
There we go.
there we
Now,
go, there we
now,
go.
fine, perfect. All right,
Come
so
on.
highlight the 2 gears and the shaft and group them. So, so go over to the model tree and pick them from the model tree, I think is the easiest way. So it was the shaft 2, this one, this gear, and this gear. Highlight all 3 of those. Okay, and then hit the group button. That guy. Good. Okay, now if you drag them, they'll all go together. Okay, good. So now you've dragged them so we can see the part we need to mate. And what we need to mate is we want to mate this lower edge of this bearing with, you've got to zoom out so I can see. Huh?
this edge right here.
So look at it from the bottom side. It's easier to see. Okay. So we want to have either, you can either choose this guy or this guy, but we got to be in the mode where we can do it. And then we want to put those onto the housing on the appropriate level on the housing. So, yep.
Which mode?
Fasten, fasten. Oh, no, sorry. This one we want to do revolute, revolute. That one. Yes, good. Then pick that guy. Good. And then now you have to see the housing. Go in so we can see the housing. Flip the housing upside down. Zoom out. Zoom out. We need to see the housing. Okay, and now you want to, yeah, you want to zoom in on this guy here. And pick this edge here. Tip it so we can see which one. Yep, yep, that's good. Yep, good. All right, let's hit solve to make sure we're doing the right thing. All right, zoom out so we can see if it's doing the right thing. And then click OK. All right, now turn off the section view for a second. And now if you grab this, everything should rotate. So try and grab the gear and rotate it. Yep, can you see how now you can rotate that thing and everything rotates together?
Yeah.
You see? Okay. So, whew, all right. How are we doing on time? What time is it? Somebody? Nobody's gonna tell me.
8:54.
54. All right. We have let's quickly
How
put
do I exit out of, like, it's like split in half?
Shift X.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So I think we can do a very similar thing pretty quickly. So something is not on the is quite on the round. Can you see
Yeah,
how
it's
it's
like
it's
it's moving.
wiggling all over? Yeah. So anyway, we should fix that, but we're not going to do it tonight. Yeah, you know what? I think maybe this is going to be it for tonight. Kiara Lynn, I think we can assign it as homework to try to get the following 2 shafts kind of set up. So stop sharing, I guess. And yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, assemblies are a little bit tricky. You have to kind of get the zen of how do you assemble things. So somehow we ended up getting things eccentric. So we're gonna end up having to kind of remate. If I were to do this, I'll just give you a quick overview of what we need to try to do tomorrow or for homework. So right now we've got these things grouped and they're just not grouped on the right center. So what we want to do is basically go back and edit this group. I would delete the group. And then now, because I've deleted the group, I can move things where I need them to be. And then we can just fasten. So I can fasten like this circle to that circle. And that's going to be good. And then I can fasten this circle to that circle. And now I think it will not be eccentric. Yeah. So anyway, now it's sort of fixed. If we do a Shift X here, and I tell it to do it on that, you can see that. Remember when we made these, when we sized these things, we gave ourselves 20 thousandths of distance between them. So we can measure that and just make sure that it's actually doing the thing. 19 thousandths, it can't really, we're off by some small amount in one of our measurements, but 1,000th, nobody's going to lose any sleep over that. Okay, so the next things to do for homework is going to be to add in, let me show all of these, show all parts, is to make this shaft and this part an assembly and put in spacers that put it in the right spots, and then put a screw in the end. And then we have to also make kind of this as a little sub-assembly and put it in. And then we will use, I'll show you that when in the assembly, we're going to use, once you have these revolute mates, so we'll put the revolute mate in that will put the motor shaft and its gear and spacers in that hole. And then we'll have an output shaft that will be mated in that hole, and we can use these things, these gear relations, to be able to pick, and you pick mates now. So you would pick the revolute mate and the other revolute mate. Where did the revolute mate go? There it is, revolute mate and revolute mate. So in fact, I'm going to rename it right now, because we're going to want to know what this is later. And I'm going to call this shaft 2 rev, so that we know which one that one is. So when we're trying to find things later, we just have this sea of unnamed things, and we'll be able to find them later. Anyway, so we're getting close to having a completed thing, but once you use those gear things, you'll end up being able to make it so that they move, and then the gears will mesh in the same way like they should. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording.